What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Serious Angler podcast. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. Whether you are new or you've been following the channel for a while, we've been doing Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing for the past couple years. But news for this year, we're going to be doing Major League Fishing's Bass Pro Tour Fantasy Fishing. And with that said, this episode is going to be on Major League Fishing's REDCREST that is going down next week at Lake Norman. So if you haven't gotten your picks yet, make sure to do so. We'll have a link down to go where you can go and get involved in Major League Fishing's fantasy fishing. But without further ado, let's not waste any time. Let's get into talking about Lake Norman for REDCREST next week. And I have a share screen here. So I'll drop this as an MP3 for some people for that like to listen to the podcast. But strictly for YouTube here, we're going to have a share screen. We're going to walk through the different things with you guys. But first, before we get into what my picks are going to be, we're going to walk through what Lake Norman is shaping up to look like next week. So today here, I'm recording this on a Saturday. This is when this is going to be dropped. Lake Norman is looking like it's getting some high temperatures. I actually, with my full-time gig, I was able to talk to Brian Thrift on the phone this past week. And he mentioned how this is abnormally warm temperatures for Lake Norman this time of year. The past couple of weeks, it's been in the 70s, high 60s, sunny, warm, not too crazy of weather. So it's going to make things a little bit more past what it usually is in regards to phase where these fish are going to be at. So looking at this today, mid 60s, high 60s, going to be the same for tomorrow. Sunny, low wind, very low wind, 70s Monday and Tuesday, with Monday having a 50-degree night, which is very important. The nighttime temps is what you really want to follow, but it's going to drop down. Tuesday is going to be mid 70s, but the nighttime temp is going to get down to 39. And then throughout the remainder of the week, the temperatures are only going to get colder. So the tournament itself is from Wednesday to Sunday. So Wednesday the 8th to Sunday the 12th. And the highest temp of the week is going to be 62, but it's going to get down to 38. So keep that in mind where it's going to push these fish up. These fish are going to move shallow. Some of them are really going to be thinking about spawning. A couple might be on bed. I don't think there's going to be a large number, but there's still going to be some pre-spawners. So I would look to, for this event, one, you're going to want to go with local bias. Local bias, which we'll get into. You'll see some of our picks that are going to know what these fish are doing, that have seen this before, and they're going to know when they need to make adjustments. They're going to have a better idea of where and when to make those adjustments and how to target those fish. But I'll also look at the shallow guys. I think that's the one that's going to be somebody that can know really more of a hybrid, I should say, versus just a shallow guy. Shallow guys they're gonna shine from probably your 10:30 to your 3 p.m. when I believe the tournament ends. But it's gonna be a guy that's a hybrid, the guy that can go out and find them deep, find them offshore, those pre-spawners first thing, and then knows when to make that adjustment and that switch to therefore go up shallow for the rest of the day to try to find and cull up one or two times. And that's important when I say this because Major League Fishing this year has gone back to their 5-fish format. It is not every fish counts over a certain weight limit anymore. It is now 5 heaviest fish. So that means it's going to change things up for Major League Fishing's fantasy fishing. So with that being said, let's get into our picks for this event. So you have a group A and you have a group B, and you get to pick 5 anglers in each. So there's a total of 10 anglers, which the only small number amount of anglers that are fishing REDCREST, you typically have things in your corner in regards to the odds. You're able to pick basically 20% of the field. So, well, I should say more than 20%. So to get into this, what we're going to do is we're going to start with Group A. I'm going to run through my picks with you guys, but I'm also going to highlight some to think about as well that I'm not picking, but I think could be good picks for this. My first pick, and notice the rule at the top in this blue here. It says must select one angler before rank 40 in the AOI ranking. Now, with this, I'm going to start off hot here, ranked number 4, and I'm going to go with Brent Ayler. Now, the reason I'm going with Brent is I think he's a guy, I was just talking about it, the hybrids, the guys that can get up shallow, but also be able to spend the early mornings going after the pre-spawners, trying to get a good solid limit, maybe catch 1 or 2 big spots, and then be able to go look for largemouth or spotted bass that are getting up real shallow, thinking about spawning or already spawning. He's one that could be able to do that. Now, with that same track mind, a guy that's just been hot the past couple of years, arguably the best, if not one of the best anglers in the world as of right now, is Jacob Wheeler. So I'm going with Jacob out of a more just he knows how to adapt well around the country. He's shown that regardless of format. Just came off a decent finish at Clark's Hill. I think he's going to be one that's going to be able to figure out what's going on. Lake Norman isn't too far from where he's at now. You bet your butt that he's been out here pre-practicing in regards to taking looks around. He's putting a lot of time behind the console and be able to go and figure him out. Again, like I was talking about those hybrids, he's going to be able to figure them out offshore, and he's going to know when to go up shallow, pick up a buzz bait, pick up a jig, and be able to slow down when he starts seeing them visually. Now, my third pick for this bucket, what I was talking about before the hybrids, we're talking about guys that live here their whole lives, the guys that are locals, the guys that have spent countless hours on this body of water. And with that being said, I am going with Casey Ashley, a guy that might honestly have a shaky head in his hands the entirety of the day, whether he's fishing 3 foot of water or he's fishing 30. I don't know if 30 is going to play too much. I don't know the full capacity of where these fish when they get in the pre-spawn. I feel like for me, 30 is going to be more of your wintering fish still, but I think we're well past that. I think these fish are going to be anywhere from your 8 foot to your 20 foot range, with 20 being at most. But again, I could be wrong there, but I think Casey Ashley is a great pick for this bucket. Now, ranking 28th, my last pick before I have to go above that 40th ranking for this bucket. I'm going with a guy that's got an extremely hot hand. I think he's the hottest trending angler right now in all of fishing. That is Dakota Ebear. Just won at Clark's Hill, won a Toyota event earlier this year on Sam Rayburn, had great finishes last year for smallmouth fisheries. So the guy can straight up just catch him regardless. He was up shallow in Clark's Hill in the bushes catching, dropped a mega bag on day one. And then was out being able to live scope 8-pounders the rest of the tournament. The guy can do anything. I think he's going to be a really great pick going to this one, riding on a really big confidence high. I think Dakota Ebear is going to have a great tournament. Now, lastly, there's a couple different picks here. Todd Faircloth has done really well in spotted bass fisheries. I also say watch out for a Jordan Lee. Jordan Lee shows up in big events. Not afraid, especially being from Alabama. He knows spotted bass very well. I would also look to potentially Jared Lintner, to have a good event here. But for me as well, I will point out the last ranked angler, and this is Anthony Gagliardi, great local angler if you want to go on that local bias for this one. But for me, I'm going to go with the guy that knows how to fish anywhere in the country, fishes simple, figures them out relatively fast. So if it seems seemingly faster than anybody else, the guy can go and catch them, do great in a tournament, even when he hasn't practiced at all. With that being said, I'm going ranked number 59th, Zach Burge. So that is my Group A: Brent Ayler, Jacob Wheeler, Casey Ashley, Dakota Ebear, and Zach Burge. So moving on to Group B, again, same rules apply. Have to pick somebody below ranked 40th. So for this one, again, I started off hot with Brent Ayler earlier. I am starting out hot again here in Group B, and I am rocking with Ott Defo. He's going to be a guy who, he talks about it. He lives shallow. He lives, 6 feet or less. I think that could prove valuable here, especially with a guy that knows how to get in skinny water, a guy that's not afraid to go up creeks, a guy that could probably find your earliest spawners and be able to capitalize on one, a moving bait, being able to find them, but also two, being able to look at them. He's won cup events looking at fish. So I think he's one that's going to do well. He just seems to do well all over the country. With that being said, my second pick for this bucket, going with the location bias. I'm going with Andy Montgomery, a guy that with this 5-fish format, I think is going to excel and do great in this event. A guy that I think will probably focus solely on largemouth. He might not worry about trying to get a limit of spots, at least right away. I think he might revert to it, but I think his track mind going into the event is I'm going after 5 bites. It's 5 big green ones, big largemouth, and go from there. So I'm going with Andy Montgomery. Now my third pick, ranked 27th in this, is a guy that, again, fishes all over the country, a guy that could do a hybrid, a guy that knows spotted bass well, especially, but isn't afraid to get up shallow with a Nico rig or a drop shot and fish for big largemouth on beds or up shallow, and that is Justin Lucas. I think he's a really solid pick for this one. And then my next pick, my second to last pick of Major League Fishing's fantasy fishing for the Bass Pro Tour at REDCREST, is there really is no explanation needed besides that this is his backyard. He's ranked 35. That is Brian Thrift from Shelby, North Carolina. I think in this one, if you don't have Brian Thrift selected, you're probably making a big mistake. I think if things go awry, it's going to make an even playing field for folks. But for Brian Thrift. He's a guy that spent a lot of time out there. I think he's going to be a great pick here too. Before my last pick, I think another guy that's going to be a great one here too, but in addition to Andy Montgomery, is Andy Morgan. So you got your two Andys in this bucket that you can't go wrong with. Andy Morgan is another one that'll probably fish very similar to an Andy Montgomery in this event. I would expect Andy Morgan to have a jig, something flipping shallow in his hands most of the day. Now, my last pick, there's a few guys in here that you could take. Dustin Connell always shows up to big events, especially the past couple of years. Matt Lee, a great spotted bass angler as well. And then you have Mark Daniels Jr. and Cody Meyer, who are incredible with a drop shot in their hands, finessing. Cody Meyer, especially with spotted bass, but these guys show that they can compete anywhere around the country. I think those are two great picks as well to round it out. But my last pick, my one pick over the rank 40 is going to be Michael Neal. Probably one of the top 5 best anglers in the country the past couple of years. And this is one where I'm going off of 3 different prongs, and one of them being heavy on location bias, 2 guys that are hybrids in regards to they can fish deep and shallow, and they will do both in the same day on tournament days, and then guys that are just straight up have the hot hand right now. It's hard to compete against a guy that has the confidence rocking, and that's where I went about with my picks. For tiebreaker, these are some of the best anglers in the world, your biggest names in the sport on the Major League Fishing Trail for the Bass Pro Tour. So I think these guys are going to smoke them. I think championship day, it's going to go all out. I think it's going to be a guy that's going to be shallow. It's a guy that's going to be running. He's going to hit his stuff early. It's probably going to be beaten up because it's over 5 days of competition. But I think he's going to go run new water, and the guy that's going to have the confidence rocking when he's running everything that's brand new. He hasn't even touched throughout practice or the tournament. And I think that is going to lead to a decent-sized bag here on championship day. I think it's going to be tight, but I think 19 pounds, 2 ounces going a little on the heavy side for Lake Norman. I think that is what's going to take it home here for this event. So let me know how you guys are doing. Let me know what you think about my picks, that sort of thing. Comment down below. Let me know. Appreciate you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel. If you're going to be at REDCREST, let us know. Andy and myself are going to be at REDCREST all week from Tuesday to Monday, doing some shows actually at launch. We'll be at the expo as well at the X2 Power booth. But let me know what you think about the picks, what you think REDCREST is going to take to win, who's going to win it, how it's going to be won. Appreciate y'all, and we'll see you next week.